Chelsea Nottingham, and I'm a crisis advocate at the Friendship Center. And today I'm joined by my co-facilitator, Gina.
Hi, I'm Gina Basedorfer, and I'm the Client Care Director and Operations Manager. And like Chelsea said, I help facilitate support group.
Excellent. So we're on week 4 this week of support group, and this topic is healthy relationships. And again, just a brief description of our support group. We have a rotating curriculum of 6 weeks where we have the same topic for that week is, week 1 is always domestic violence, week 2 is always sexual assault, but we will be talking about different content every time. And right now with these videos, we're just trying to do a real brief and basic breakdown of some of the topics and the dynamics of the topics that we're talking about. So we can get started with week 4, healthy relationships. And I know that can be hard for a lot of people to define, but we have this very really easy to read, easy to navigate wheel. It's called the equality wheel that we love to share. And it's basically the opposite of what our unhealthy wheel would be that we would share. Having trouble thinking of the name of that wheel, Gina.
The power and control wheel.
Power and control wheel. There we go. Excellent. So it's basically the opposite of that. So in the middle is equality, and there are all these branches that kind of make up what a healthy relationship would be. So some of those I just want to highlight too, that a lot of that we talk about kind of being the basis of a healthy relationship would be fair and safe communication. And we often throw around the word negotiation, coming to the table and negotiating terms with your partner about what you think is healthy, about where your boundaries are and where your limitations lie, and just really being clear and direct about communicating about your wants and needs in a relationship, and hoping that and negotiating with that person on whether or not they can meet those wants and needs. So negotiation and fairness, seeing how both of you can get your needs met as in a safe and healthy manner. And so, the other portion of that would be respect, right? Listening to your partner in a non-judgmental manner, being able to understand where they're coming from and respect that, and then meeting them where they are. Trust and support is another part of the wheel that we feel is a pretty big pillar. Being able to trust that person with your feelings, that they're not going to turn them around and exploit you for them or make you feel shamed for the way that you feel, and to know that you have the right to feelings. You have the right to feel sad or angry or upset about certain things that happen in the way of life, and it's important to know that you have a supportive partner when some of those happen. You have anything to add on those kind of 3 touch points that you laid out, Gina?
Yeah, I think one of the big things that with the equality wheel versus the power and control wheel, Chelsea and I, before we started recording this video, we were talking about how knowing the difference between a healthy and unhealthy relationship can be very challenging. And in a lot of ways, maybe being able to break down what an unhealthy relationship looks like feels easier. And I think that some of these on the equality wheel can be really challenging in that way, because a lot of dynamics in an unhealthy relationship seem maybe okay on the surface, but aren't. And so, thinking about honesty and accountability, somebody said, but, and then proceeds to explain why really it was okay that they did that. On the surface, it feels like maybe they're taking accountability, but in reality, they are making excuses or justifying their inappropriate or violent behavior. And so I think some of these things can be really challenging because it seems like maybe you have that on the surface, but once you dig a little deeper, that it's actually some power and control tactics that are at play, or that manipulation that's at play. And so I think sometimes it can feel really challenging to be able to feel comfortable with is this actually a healthy relationship or a healthy dynamic that's happening? Or is it an unhealthy one kind of posing as that healthy relationship? And for a lot of clients that we work with, they have a long history of violent relationships or maybe violence in their childhood. And so they maybe haven't had experience with a healthy relationship or have witnessed one. And so sometimes healthy relationships can feel unsafe because they feel so foreign. And so you're waiting for that other shoe to drop. You're waiting for that justification. You're waiting for the punishment from the compromise that you came to when you were trying to negotiate something in that relationship. And so that can be a really stressful thing for a lot of people, is experiencing that healthy dynamic or those appropriate boundaries.
Yeah. And I just want to highlight something that you said, Gina, that happens very often, is that, um, folks are made to feel like they are in a healthy relationship, but in fact, some of these behaviors are being very intentionally disguised. Like you said, accountability, like saying, well, I'm sorry that this happened, but, and then the list goes on to make you feel like it's your fault. There's no accountability being taken. And I think that's something that a lot of our clients experience, but I think a lot of folks in just unhealthy relationships experience just constantly being made to feel like there's something wrong with them or it's their fault. And I think we're here to tell you that it's not always like that. That's a conscious manipulation on um, a partner's part to make you feel less than, and to make it easier to kind of control the things that you do or the things that happen in the relationship.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point.
And so our next resource, which is it does explain what a healthy relationship consists of even more. And we've shared this resource before, but we love it so much and we'll never stop sharing it. It is loveisrespect.org. And underneath the Relationships 101 tab, it has a healthy relationships. And I just went right to, just clicked on healthy relationships, and it really defines what a healthy relationship is. So different people define their relationships in different ways. But for a relationship to be healthy, it should be made up of a few key concepts, which we've already talked about a lot of them before. But, we'll just touch on a couple more from this website. Open, honest, and safe communication, which is very important. To speak up in a relationship. If there is something bothering you, it is, your right to kind of bring that to the forefront and try to unpack what could be making you feel that way, and then negotiate with your partner about how to best solve that issue. And of course, we mentioned respecting each other's ideas, feelings, in order to maintain a healthy relationship. And of course, compromise. I feel like that's something that, when we ask people in successful healthy relationships, some of them are parents or, maybe teachers that you went to school with, or, it's usually someone older. They love to say compromise, right? And so that's not necessarily putting your dreams, feelings, personal thoughts on the back burner and completely discarding them, but maybe, more, if you're having a disagreement, and encouraging seeing the other side of your partner's views and their feelings and hearing them out, and then maybe adjusting to a point where it meets both of your needs.
I think a big piece of that really comes back to boundaries. If you're having a conversation or a conflict and you disagree on something and you're trying to work through it, it allows both people to assert their boundaries and say, look, this is the line I can't cross, or this is where I'm okay bending that line a little bit and figuring out what feels safe. And it's important that it's both people. Compromise is not one partner always sacrificing what they want or changing their views on something or agreeing to do something or not do something, et cetera. It is both people, and it's maybe not both people equally every time, right? So it's not always literally taking 10 steps each in or something like that. Maybe there are some times where your partner gets more of what they want, but then there should be other times where you also get what you want. And there are times where maybe you both equally compromise. And so it depends a lot on what the situation is. Both people have to give work. And I think having those boundaries and knowing for yourself, what are my boundaries? What are the places where I cannot or will not sacrifice, and my partner's going to respect that. If you have a partner that doesn't respect your boundary on even the smallest of things, they will not respect your boundaries on the larger issues either. And so that can be a really good cue for whether or not that's healthy. And again, sometimes having people uphold boundaries feels really odd. Having a partner that upholds their own boundaries can feel odd. Having somebody respect yours can feel odd. And so some of that, it's confusing to figure out what is this dynamic. And it's not to say that conflicts don't happen in healthy relationships. They 100% happen in all relationships. And it's more about how both people come together to work through that conflict.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, that's just the next part of that small page on love is respect is a whole thing on unpacking boundaries, creating boundaries. And I think, like Gina said, a huge part about knowing where your boundaries are is really trying to self-reflect and take care of yourself when you're trying to figure out, okay, this is something I'm not okay with and this is something I am okay with, and really trusting your gut in that moment, that if it really doesn't feel right, that could be a good indicator of a boundary for you. And so at the end of this too, it goes into explain what isn't a healthy relationship and what is more defined of uh, what is more consistent with an abusive relationship. And we know that relationships exist on a spectrum. So, maybe you're feeling like abusive, you're not liking that label and maybe it's too harsh, but there are cases where it's just an unhealthy relationship, or a toxic relationship is something we hear a lot, where there's maybe some verbal abuse going on or just some really heavily put downs. It's definitely not our job to define your experience. It's definitely not something that you have to put a label on, but if it just doesn't feel right in your gut, knowing that something is wrong, there's some really good red flags that they put on here to define kind of, what could be leading to a unhealthy relationship, or are you already in one? Things like not letting you go out with your friends, not letting, maybe isolating you from family or certain friends, possessiveness, insults, put downs, yelling, making you feel less than by humiliating you maybe in front of coworkers or friends. Things like that could be the tip of the iceberg for something that's unhealthy. And I think it's important for everyone to know that that's, being in a healthy relationship is your right, and it's something that everyone deserves to be in. So, I know that it can, feeling shame around talking about it and to friends and getting help, but just know that all of our services here at the Friendship Center are confidential. So if maybe you're not feeling super safe talking to a friend about some of the dynamics that are going on in your relationship, or a family member, we here at the Friendship Center are here to support you confidentially, and maybe talk through and unpack some of those things that could be going on in the relationship that are not making you feel comfortable.
Absolutely. And I think too, when we think about healthy or unhealthy relationships, it's hard too for sometimes people to think about friendships or family dynamics are healthy or unhealthy. And while it's different than intimate partner relationships in some ways, those foundational pieces are the same, where you have equal power, communication, respect, trust, etc. And so that can be something too that's really relevant for folks when they're trying to maybe process with a friend or family member if their intimate relationship is unhealthy, but maybe that friendship is an unhealthy relationship as well. And so that person might reinforce some of those unhealthy dynamics as healthy. And so, like Chelsea said, we're happy to talk through that with anybody. We don't have any skin in the game, so to speak. And so we don't have the same investment that other people in a personal life sometimes have with
Yeah.
relationships. And so for us, it's about helping you work through what is your relationship for you and what do you want out of it. And so, we're not going to define that, but we can certainly walk you through, all of these different dynamics or patterns that we see, et cetera, and be that objective sounding board as you try to sort out what you feel your situation is and what, if any, steps you want to take based on that information.
Yeah. So I'm going to share that link to the equality wheel below. And as well as I'm going to share the Love is Respect link as well. And then I will also share our website. There's a lot of information about the Friendship Center that you can find at our website, our phone number, places to message us, anywhere you feel comfortable, or getting help through email, Facebook. We will respond to you. And then let's see here. And then as well as I will share a phone number below, as I always do. And hopefully we can keep making these videos. We at the Friendship Center are still closed to the public due to COVID-19. And that's how it's going to be for the foreseeable future. So we're hoping that these videos can give you support virtually, which is how we're experiencing a lot of things nowadays. So we so much appreciate you tuning into this video, and we hope to have a week 5 out pretty soon here. So,
in the meantime, you're always welcome to call our crisis line and we can still provide services to you.
All right. Excellent. Thanks, Gina, for being here with me. And
Bye, everyone.
I hope you have a good day.